Welcome to the Marketplace Report. I'm your host, Amber Christian, editor of Handmade Seller Magazine. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome Tiffany, the founder of CauseCart, to the show. Welcome to the show, Tiffany, and can you share more about the origin story and the founding of CauseCart?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, Amber. Tiffany Service Gustafson. I am the founder of CauseCart, and we are a social impact marketplace site. So we're a site for people that are frustrated with the waste and excess from major retailers. We are a site where you can shop by cause and also by a product line. And everything that we ship is in biodegradable, recyclable packaging. We offset the carbon it takes to get the box to your door, investing in reforestation projects around the world. So when we sell online, we say we are commerce with purpose, and we are CauseCart. So it's been an interesting journey doing this. It's been 13 years now that I've been in the e-commerce industry, and started traditionally selling on major retailer marketplaces. So I was selling home goods, stained glass, lighting, accent pieces that were manufactured overseas for a previous employer, and built that up to be a multi-million dollar annual business, but was on 15 different marketplace sites. So
Mm-hmm.
being able to ship the product, sell the product, market the product, the customer service, all of that we're very familiar with selling online. It was obviously a lot. Grew it, scaled it, made it profitable. But I was bummed out in the end because when I looked at everything that was accomplished from the business acumen side, I was just looking at all the waste and excess when it came to the environment and all the stakeholders involved in what it takes to get a box to somebody's door. And that made me think of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there could be a marketplace that's curated with purpose, that has all these different vendors that are able to sell their products, and everybody has some sort of purpose with their profits. And that purpose can be small or large, but there's something, and everybody's doing a little bit to like give back to create a community where then the consumer can come on and be able to shop with ease, looking for things, whether they want to be inspired by looking at a certain product category, or if they want to be inspired by, hey, I want to support this cause, whatever it may be, and it will aggregate up all of the products that are supporting that particular cause. So making it easy for a consumer to do good online, because it's not easy to do good online a lot. It's a lot of homework, a lot of trying to weed through and trying to figure out what's real, what's not. The greenwashing effect is definitely real out there. And, it's an SEO game. It's a pay-per-click game. And unless you have a massive budget, it's really hard to break through the noise to be seen by consumers. So working together as a community, being able to build each other up is definitely the key part of the foundation of CauseCart.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you share a little bit more about who can actually sell on CauseCart and what countries, what locations, categories? Let's get into some of the more specific things about CauseCart and who's eligible to be able
Yes.
to sell on the platform.
Love it. So with CauseCart, you can go on at any time and create an account. Whether you want
Mhm.
to buy, at any time you can set up an account if you're interested in being a vendor, but you are not accepted as a vendor until we have a meet and greet, a 15-minute
Mhm.
orientation to understand more about you and your products. And who's accepted into CauseCart? Well, it's very inclusive in the fact that we want to work with a variety of different business types, product types, causes. So we look at it like we have a laundry list essentially of all the different vendors that we work with. So all minority owned business owners, nonprofits that are looking for incremental revenue, artisans, handmade goods that maybe are using sustainable materials or have a give back. Maybe you're giving 5%
Mhm.
back to a homeless shelter. Maybe there's something you're doing, you're planting a tree with every purchase. That's enough to be able to be on CauseCare because you're doing something. Your profit is also your purpose. B corporations, universities, whether it be social impact classes, young entrepreneurs that want to test the waters, but maybe don't have a lot of startup cash to be able to like start their own website or work with major marketplaces. Businesses that just want to do better. So you could be a traditional business, LLC or an established business, but maybe you're creating a product line that you're like, wow, this is like something that we're going to do that has a purpose or a give back, and be able to feature that product on Coscart. Um, Rural economics, so working with small towns, small town entrepreneurs, reviving Main Street, getting revenue back into
Mm.
small towns, is also a big initiative that we've taken on this past year, and working with farmers markets. So if you're a vendor at a farmers market, how cool is it to be able to, oh, you can pre-order on Coscard and pick up at our booth. Or now it's the
Mm.
end of season of the market, you can continue to have that relationship with the consumer by utilizing the platform until the market starts back up in the spring. So there's a lot of different ways to slice and dice it per se. We don't have a checklist of like you must be, X, Y, and Z. But what we do want to create is this community where it's just not solely about the profit and fighting each other to like who can win and make the most money or make the most sales. We all get it. Margin is mission. It's very important to keep your business alive. 100% agree. But again, if we all do a little bit better cumulatively together on a platform, like imagine the impact we can make.
Mhm. Now, we had a little bit of a fun analogy to explain it to people prior to the interview when we were talking because we are both in Minnesota. So we have to bring a little Minnesota into this since it's where you're based. And I thought you had a perfect analogy to describe what people will find on Coscourt in the most beautiful way. Do you want to go ahead and share that analogy?
I would love to share this analogy. I guess I have to go a little bit of the backstory of the how we got here. So I was a bartender for 24 years in downtown Minneapolis part time, and loved every second of it. And it was at the venue where Prince got his start. If you go and watch Purple Rain, it is there. It's called First Avenue. Lovely, beautiful place. They would do Sunday night dance party. That was a big thing in the 90s and early 2000s. Every Sunday night, it was all ages. And what I loved about working that is, and back then I was a pop tender, so I wasn't a bartender yet. So I was serving my soda pop. But I would I would look out over the dance floor and it would be every sort of person you could imagine, all dancing collectively together and having a great time. You could have like your heavy metal crowd to the hip hop crowd to the country crowd to the new wave to the pop, it didn't matter. It was like, and they played all different types of music all night to accommodate everybody in the room. What I loved about it was just how beautifully everybody just weaved and danced together and had a great time, and the music brought everybody together. So when I created Coscard, I couldn't help but think about the dance floor. So like, oh, it's like this platform, and like you have all of these awesome people doing all these different things and eclectic, and like they have these stories to share, and put them all together and like let's see what happens, because I have an assumption it's going to be pretty cool stuff that could happen if you put them all together in one space and let them dance. So that's what we were laughing about. Is like, it's the dance floor, is how I envision Coscart.
I love that. Such a fun story. So now, and so relevant locally as well.
It is. It's so Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, every business evolves over time. Nobody starts out of the gate perfectly with every single possible feature. Can you talk about if anybody happens to be watching that new cause court in the early days, how has your platform evolved? How did it work in the beginning? How does it work today?
Yeah, in the beginning, I mean, that was probably the hardest obstacle for me. And I will say it was actually my male peers that really pushed me to go live. And I
Mm.
don't know if it was just me personally, but I've talked to other women that have started businesses, especially in the tech space, of it can be very scary to have this vision of what you want and your MVP, your minimal viable product, is not there. And that could be a lot of reasons why. Mostly it's financial budget reasons, which was our case. So it was like, we want to get it out there. But I kept stalling because I'm like, oh, it does this, or oh, I don't like how that looks. Oh, ooh, there's always like a reason why to not go live. And
Mhm.
it finally got to the point that it's like, one of my guy friends was just like, you just got to turn it on, Tiffany. Like you don't even know what the consumer, the vendors want until you like go live and then you learn from that. And like don't be embarrassed. You know, that's what an MVP is about.
Mhm.
And people, they're understanding, and the early adopters, they get it. And then you keep on growing from there. And I did, and that was very uncomfortable for me. That was probably one of the
Mhm.
biggest growing experiences of my career, was just being open to doing that. And then from that, like learning from UX designers, focus groups, our own experiences of getting orders and seeing like those, you know, icky warts of the system of like, how can we make it better? I came to the realization that continuous improvement is a core part of this business, no matter what. So whether that
Mhm.
is technically, you know, making it more less frictionless to be able to have that great experience on the site, that's always going to be something that we focus on. But even bigger, it's like how can we, as a collective community on one platform, work together to lift each other up and be better all around, and just be open to criticism. Not criticism per se in a negative way, but just like ideas and being open to testing and being open to failing. Because I've worked in enough places, and I think we've all had this experience of like you were afraid to fail. Because if you failed, you know, the spotlight was on you, and
Mhm.
you felt icky about that. And so there was always that kind of like, oh, I'm not going to be the one that, you know, takes a chance and fails. And then I made an example of, but I want to actually like use it as a celebratory moment of like, okay, we tried that. It failed. That wasn't great. A customer gave us a great idea. We tried it. It was awesome. Thank you, customer. Thank you, vendor. And then again, like building it for the community. And it's not about what my vision was originally. Yes, it gets it off the ground, but it's bigger than my vision in the end. So we have to be open to all different ideas and points of view.
So now how do the fees work? Given you have some interesting components in that you can house inventory for people, can you talk about how the fee structures work for Coscart today?
So the fee structure is very simple, and we have it simple for a reason. So we want to focus, really, we're all in on the vendor side of the
Mhm.
business, of building up as much new product, causes, vendors, to give a wide variety to the consumer. Now, of course, we're getting consumer traffic, we get orders, but our efforts right now, this past 6 to 8 months, has been really all in building up the vendor side. And that is a difficult side with marketplace, because you have two lanes of customers, right? You have your consumer side, but then you also have your vendors. And a lot of marketplaces will choose one over the other. And I can say with confidence, having been a vendor on 15 different platforms, is they'll choose the consumer side, right? They're consumer centric. And as a vendor, oftentimes I felt very disposable, because it's like, well, if I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to agree to those terms, there's another one in line who will. So, you know, take it or leave it,
Ah.
kid.
Mhm.
Kind of. And I was like, if I ever create something like this, I would build it where it's even. And even's not easy, because you have to
Mhm.
give attention to both, but treat the vendors with as much respect and dignity and focus as you do on the consumer side that's bringing in the revenue. So that's where we are right now, is focusing on the vendor side. What does that mean? Light lift. So there is no cost to onboard with us. The only cost is 20% commission off the retail price once you sell something. We also take in the onboarding in house. So you don't have to be responsible for setting up your storefront. You give us your digital assets. If you have the photos, the product information, the pricing, the inventory feed, give that to our team. We'll get it all set up for you, send over a draft link. You say yay or nay, and then we go live. And this light lift is really important in this phase, because we're still in that early adoption period where we want to keep building the community. We want to make it so easy and not a cost or a burden to somebody who's willing to take on, because this is a very big endeavor, to be able to build up this community of lots of different vendors and causes and make an impact, if not, you know, obviously locally, nationally, and hopefully at some point globally. That's the goal. So no cost, 20% commission once you sell, being able to take on inventory for you. So being all inclusive to a lot of artisans, that are like, hey, I've never been online and maybe it's intimidating. I don't have the bandwidth to do it. It's a lot of work and I want to focus on making my arts, my crafts, whatever it may be. Okay, like we got you. We will take care of this. And that what brought us to fulfilling orders on behalf of the artists. Or the product makers. So if you don't have that capacity, that's okay. We're in this phase right now. Like we're going to help you get through it. Maybe at one point you realize you can, maybe at one point you, from what you learned being on Coscard and us helping you, you realize that you want to actually have your own site or be on other marketplaces. That's fine too. Like I said, I was on 15 different platforms. It's good to be in a lot of different places and being able to just do that as a give back. We don't charge for fulfillment fees at this time. So if we brought in the inventory, it's on consignment. We don't own it. And it's not additional on top of the 20%.
Mhm.
So you're still going to pay the 20% and we will fulfill it. But we will be using your shipping account to fulfill the order because it is your customer and they are paying you for the shipping.
Mhm. Yeah, it's such an interesting and different model. I mean, you had to figure a lot of pieces out, right? To be able to take in and do all that fulfillment and all of that part. And so that's something where people aren't necessarily used to the fact that it is still a marketplace, but you have this fulfillment angle. And so even for someone who is making, who is, so many people wear all the hats in
Mm-hmm.
the, well, gee, the sales fulfillment part of it gets taken care of by this part of it. It could be a really attractive option for people, especially given that it is consignment for the inventory. So it is they're not paying you to store it, right? They're just
Correct.
paying once it sells. So
Once
that's
it
that's a
sells.
pretty attractive model for someone to give it a try. From that setup perspective. So now marketplaces are challenging because you have to develop both the buyers and the seller side of it. And so you talked quite a bit about some of the things you were doing on the side of helping the vendors and trying to balance that out. But how do you think about your thought processes for finding both buyers and sellers as you kind of look out at the broader market?
Yeah, it takes an average of 7 touch points now for a brand to get the attention of a consumer, online at least. And I definitely believe that. Attention span is, I think, less than a second at this point when you're looking at Instagram and scrolling. And a average person scrolls the length of the Empire State Building every day in content, which is just absolutely fascinating to me. So knowing that, you're up against that, there's a lot of noise. And there's a lot of noise on social media. There's a lot of noise everywhere. And when it comes to like Google or Bing, yeah, you could break through that noise, but it comes with a price. And a lot of times you don't have that budget to play that game. There's a lot of heavy hitters playing that game every day, and we know who they are. And they're always winning those placements and those pay per clicks and keywords. So, how do you do it? And I think it's really at a time where you do it through community and working together organically and some like guerrilla marketing tactics. So I just remember, back in the day, promoting concerts or, different events and maybe that partner like didn't have the money, but I was, a promotions girl and would just be like working out, trying to like get people to notice like our event of what we're doing. And we have to call it guerrilla marketing, right? And I kind of think of the same way, but digitally and like, how do you do that? So social media is obviously still a great space to gain exposure. But there's also this like trust element that's very important to this business model because one, you're asking the consumer to shop a little different. Yes, you can shop and look, I'm looking for a purse or a hat. And, it's keyword focused and you can see what we're selling. But we're bigger than that. It's more than just a transaction here. And there's action within that transaction. So educating them on this is the why, this is what we're about, and making sure my goal is to have this very frictionless experience on Coscart that's just as easy as a major retailer and in the background, we're doing the dynamics of the platform to make it easy to do good. So that consumer can go shop with ease, build trust in the brand, have discovery of new products, new vendors, educational experience, learning about new causes, new organizations that they've never heard of, nonprofits, and then having a really great experience where they got their product on time, it wasn't broken, customer service was stellar, and that is what gains attraction then. What, in the industry, the flywheel to be able to get more action onto the platform. And I think that as time goes and you keep building that up with all these different people and organizations and causes, and it will start to organically grow in conjunction, obviously, with social media and the marketing that we're doing. But I am prepared that it does take time. And any marketplace will tell you that. When you're building a community, it's not just a one dimension, one product, one brand website. It's multi tenancy, a lot of different people on one platform, which can sound very intimidating and daunting, but a huge opportunity to make a big impact.
Mhm. I think you're right on the perspective of it takes years and years and years of continual effort to build up audiences. And so a lot of times people will compare, wow, it doesn't have the reach of Etsy. Etsy's been at it and had many more millions than anybody else has had
Mm-hmm.
to throw at that problem. And then that has its own unique challenges as well. So I always find it interesting because everybody develops out their customer base differently and how they're going to reach people on both sides of things. And that I think is what makes it so special and unique to say, does that resonate with me about how they are finding the kinds of people that I would then be selling to as well? So, now from your perspective, what actually makes a product listing on CauseCart a good listing? Like, what kind of attributes? What should people keep in
Mm.
mind as they're designing product listings?
Photos are very important. So I would say, they say 6 to 10 photos is ideal. And definitely anything with scale to be able to see, because you can put the dimensions into a listing, but let's be real, people. I'm guilty of this. Even I live and breathe this, not looking at dimensions. And I'm like, this is like holes in the palm of my hand. And I thought it was 4 feet high. Like, yeah, like totally guilty. But just to give them that scale, photos are great. It's also that photos are always going to be the thing that drives them in first, visually appealing and getting them to stop to look at your product listing. And from there, for us, it's the story. Right now, we have an overview of what the cause is, what the give back is, a paragraph about the vendor, why they started it, their passion for, the why of what they do, and being able to put that in like no longer than a paragraph form, because again, we know people scroll fast. And what I'd love to be able to do is our next phase is work more on video content too, be able to tell stories about the vendor, the cause, the product via video, and figuring out, how to do that without slowing down the website. That's something that, we're trying to toy with, but still it's like how do you get it more immersive, that they have that experience of, wow, I buy this purse and it's helping this person actually in a whole nother country, or, I'm planting a tree and look at this. And they really feel engaged, because a transaction online is a transaction. It's pretty bland. I mean, it's like put in cart, check out, give me your money, see you later, here's your tracking. Like, you worked hard for that money. I work hard for my money. Like, I want to feel something here. Like, and frankly, like we're voting with our dollars a lot lately. So I would say, hey, like let's make this a more I have just some more experience of, whether it be like having that connection of that cause or to that vendor, or even you love the product caught your eye. Like we all like, we love the product. Oh, that's so cute. I have to have that. But take it a step further and also learn about the why of the vendor and the why about the cause, and see where it goes from there. And that's just been completely missed with online shopping.
Mhm. So now for artisans that are in that assessment process for looking at different types of marketplaces, as someone who runs a marketplace, and so then you have a unique perspective and you see a lot of different things, what would you tell an artisan that's looking for a marketplace, some of the things for them to think about as decision points and for their decision on
Mhm.
which marketplaces make sense for them?
Yes, love this question because I definitely had a few, battle wounds throughout the years working with so many different platforms and realized like, man, if I only would have asked that question or like if, only I knew. You don't know what you don't know, right? So you go into these marketplaces and a lot of times it's like served up, here it is, here's your store, have fun, you got it, kid, like have at it. And here, read this online tutorial or this video or this forum, and it has all the tricks of the trade, or use this third party or this agency, which a lot of times is a luxury that you don't have the budget for. So I learned by like marketplace number two that the first thing I had to do was build a pricing template. And I had a different pricing template for every one of my platforms because no margin is created equal depending on where you're selling. So you'd look at your retail price and then you would dissect and call it SKU economics of what you would net being on that platform. And really, what is the objective of it? There really needs to be an objective because I would be on some platforms literally to liquidate inventory. Like that was the reason why. It's like that stuff that we're phasing out, and I just want to, move it because we need the cash flow. So that's the objective for that platform. This is about, building up the brand and having the 4 to 5 star reviews and all of that. That's the reason for this. And really dissecting out the why. Don't ever join a platform just because like you think you should. Um, no matter how big the platform is, like really do your due diligence and ask those questions and ask about the fees. The fees are the biggest thing, and they are the little gremlins that creep up out of nowhere that you don't know until you get your, remittance, your payment, and you're like, what? That's what I netted? Like that's what I get? It can be very, very jarring sometimes. And once you set that retail price, when you intro into a marketplace, a lot of times like that's where you're at then. So it's really hard to manipulate the
Mm.
pricing and go up when, granted we're in this world of like, the tariffs and all of that. So there's a lot of dynamic pricing happening per se, but it's a lot harder to increase your price than decrease your price on any platform. And you would be better off doing the due diligence up front, dissecting the fees, netting out your margin, and then looking at it like, hey, I'm making a little bit more here, a little less here, but the objective is different. And I would blend my margins too. So I'd take all 15 of my spreadsheets, look at my net blended, and as a business whole, it made sense. But it really helps you. Pricing templates are a beautiful thing, and it was my go-to for every decision I ever made.
Hmm. Excellent. So now, how do people apply to sell on Costcart? Can you share more about where do they go and how can they sell?
Absolutely. Well, you can start with going to www.cause dash, don't forget the dash, cart.com. Sign up. And like I said, you can shop freely, do what you want to do. But if you want to be a vendor, reach out to support at CauseCart for an intro 15-minute meet and greet to better understand you, and you can ask us all the questions that you may have. And then once you are approved post that, then you are approved to be a vendor, and then we can work on the onboarding depending on where we're at with the season. There's definitely seasonality, high demand, low. I would say it would take about 2 to 3 weeks to fully onboard, assuming that we have all of the content and digital assets that we need to get you set up. Once we're set up, we send you a draft of the storefront. You approve, yay or nay, and then once you've approved it, you go live. The only ask that we have for the vendor is to sync your banking. So we can't touch anything with your banking. Like I said, the 20% commission for us goes off the top of the retail price, not including the shipping. The net goes directly to your banking account, so you're responsible for getting that set up on your own. But besides that, we can set up everything else for you. You can also check us out on Coscart on Instagram.
Mhm. Okay, now for one of my favorite questions in the
Oh
interview.
boy.
I know this is like picking a favorite child. It's a little challenging. Tell us the coolest thing you've ever seen sold on your marketplace. Because, we got a lot of people at this dance party on this dance floor. What's the coolest thing you've ever seen sold?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it is like picking a favorite child. Like, there's like no way I can do this because I love them all. I think this is like, I love everything that's happening on our platform and how it's growing. But if I do have to pick one, because I was told to, Amber, I will. Um, I'm going to pick a local Girl Scout troop that they're third graders and they did a craft show to make money for their field trips and to do community service projects. So they had their craft show for the holidays and then they had leftover inventory. And I just happened to be their troop leader. So I was like, girls, you want to learn how to sell online? Like, now is the time. Okay. And they were totally in and learned what it takes to get a product set up, what you have to think about, counting their inventory, figuring out their pricing for their website. And they set up their Coscart store, which is still live today. They do have some really cute things, very cute earrings and magnets. Um, and like I said, they're in third grade. But yes, their money goes directly to their troop, and that's incremental revenue that they make all year outside of cookie selling and craft shows. So, Troop 58208, that's what I got.
Oh, this has been such a fun interview. Can you tell people that are watching how to follow you on socials so that they can learn more?
Yes, Instagram is our preferred. So, go to Cause Cart, all one word, and meet us there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tiffany, and thank you everyone who tuned in.
Thank you, Amber. It was fun.